In 1934, during the depths of the Great Depression, a woman walked into Florence Scovel Shinn's office with 12 cents in her purse and 3 days until she lost everything. Her rent was overdue. Her electricity was about to be shut off. She had no job and no prospects. Florence looked at her and said something that made no logical sense. She said, "You are going to speak 3 words every morning and every night, and within 1 week, your entire financial situation will transform." The woman thought Florence had lost her mind, but she was desperate, so she agreed. She spoke those 3 words. 7 days later, she received $4,000 from a source she never could have predicted. Not a loan, not charity, money that was legally and rightfully hers, but had been hidden from her awareness. Those 3 words unlocked what Florence Scovel Shinn called divine supply. And today, I am revealing exactly what those words are, why they work on both spiritual and scientific levels, and how you can activate this same principle starting right now. Before we dive into the 3 words themselves, you need to understand why most people never access their divine supply, even though it is available to everyone at all times. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that there exists an invisible but absolutely real spiritual law governing prosperity. She called it the law of divine supply. This law states that infinite abundance exists in the universe right now, not in the future, not after you work harder or get lucky or find the right opportunity, right now. But here is what most people do not understand. This supply does not flow to you based on how hard you work, or how deserving you are, or how much you need it. It flows to you based on your consciousness. Specifically, it flows to you based on the words you speak because your words are the bridge between invisible supply and visible manifestation. Florence Scovel Shinn was adamant about this principle. She wrote in Your Word is Your Wand, words and thoughts are a tremendous vibratory force, ever molding man's body and affairs. She documented dozens of cases where people transformed impossible financial situations, not by working harder or getting more education or finding better opportunities, but by changing the words they spoke about money. And the most powerful words she discovered were 3 specific words that, when spoken with understanding and faith, activate divine supply immediately. Let me tell you about the woman I mentioned at the beginning, because her story reveals exactly how this works. Her name was Margaret, and she came to Florence in complete desperation. Margaret had been a seamstress, but the depression had destroyed her business. She had gone months without steady income. She had sold everything she owned of value. She was 3 days away from eviction. When Florence told her to speak 3 specific words, Margaret asked the obvious question, "How can 3 words possibly change my situation?" Florence explained it this way. Your current financial condition is not the truth about you. It is simply the outward manifestation of your inner consciousness. You have been speaking lack. You have been declaring poverty. You have been using your words to create exactly what you are experiencing. Every time you say, "I am broke," or "I cannot afford this," or "money is so tight," you are instructing the universe to manifest more lack. Your word is your wand, and you have been using your wand against yourself. But the moment you change your words, you change your consciousness. And the moment you change your consciousness, your outer circumstances must shift to match it. This is not belief. This is spiritual law. Florence then taught Margaret the 3 words. They are simple, almost too simple, but their simplicity is their power. The 3 words are, I am supplied. Not I will be supplied. Not I hope to be supplied. I am supplied. Present tense. Definite. Absolute. Florence instructed Margaret to say these 3 words out loud every morning when she woke up and every night before she slept. And throughout the day, whenever fear or anxiety about money arose, she was to immediately speak these 3 words. I am supplied. Margaret was skeptical, but she was also desperate, so she committed. The first morning, she woke up in her tiny apartment with eviction looming and spoke the words out loud. I am supplied. It felt like a lie. Her bank account said otherwise. Her empty cupboard said otherwise. The bills on her table said otherwise. But she spoke the words anyway. Throughout that first day, every time panic rose in her chest, she would whisper, I am supplied. That night before bed, she spoke the words again. I am supplied. On the 3rd day, something unexpected happened. Margaret received a letter from a law office she had never heard of. It informed her that a distant relative she barely knew had passed away 18 months earlier and had left her a portion of his estate. The legal process had taken over a year to locate her. The amount was $4,000. In 1934, during the Depression, this was a fortune. It was enough to pay all her back rent, reconnect her electricity, buy food, and have money left over to restart her seamstress business. Margaret was stunned. She went back to Florence and asked how this was possible. Florence explained that the money was always there. It existed in the invisible realm of divine supply. But Margaret's consciousness of lack had blocked her from receiving it. The moment she shifted her words from declarations of poverty to declarations of supply, she opened the channel for that money to flow to her. The 3 words, "I am supplied," changed her consciousness, and her changed consciousness allowed the manifestation. Now I need to pause here because many of you are recognizing something right now. You have been speaking lack over your life for years, maybe decades. Every time you say, "I cannot afford that," or "money is so tight," or "I am broke," you are using your word as a wand to create more lack. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that your words are not descriptions of your reality. They are instructions to the universe about what to create. If you recognize that you have been using your words against yourself financially, comment, "I have declared poverty over my life." This awareness is the turning point. You cannot change what you do not acknowledge, and your honesty helps others recognize their own patterns. Now let us continue with why these 3 specific words are so spiritually and scientifically powerful. The phrase "I am supplied" works on multiple levels simultaneously. First, spiritually, these words align you with the truth of divine abundance. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that God is your source, not your job, not your business, not the economy, not other people. God is infinite supply, and you have direct access to that supply through your consciousness. When you say, "I am supplied," you are acknowledging this spiritual reality. You are declaring that your supply comes from an infinite source that never runs out, never fails, and is always available to you. Second, the present tense is critical. Florence was very specific about this. You must never say, "I will be supplied," because that places your abundance in the future. And the future never comes. It is always now. When you say, "I will be supplied," you are affirming that you are not supplied now. You are reinforcing your current lack. But when you say, "I am supplied," you are claiming your abundance in the present moment. You are declaring it as a current reality, even if your physical circumstances have not yet reflected it. Third, these 3 words bypass your logical mind and speak directly to your subconscious. Your subconscious mind is where your true beliefs about money live, and your subconscious beliefs create your reality. Most people have deeply embedded subconscious beliefs about lack, scarcity, and financial struggle. These beliefs were programmed in childhood through things your parents said, experiences you had, messages society gave you. Your conscious mind might want prosperity, but if your subconscious believes in lack, lack is what you will manifest. The words "I am supplied," when repeated consistently, begin reprogramming your subconscious mind. They plant new beliefs. They create new neural pathways. Modern neuroscience has proven that repeated affirmations literally change brain structure. This is not metaphor. It is measurable biology. Florence Scovel Shinn knew this truth decades before science could prove it. Let me share another case that demonstrates the power of these 3 words. In 1936, a man named Robert came to one of Florence's lectures. Robert was a talented architect, but the Depression had dried up all building projects. He had not had a client in 2 years. He had burned through his savings. He was considering abandoning architecture entirely and taking any job he could find just to survive. During the lecture, Florence taught about the 3 words "I am supplied." Robert decided to test this principle. He made a commitment to speak these words 50 times every day for 30 days. Every morning before getting out of bed, he would say, "I am supplied" 25 times. Every night before sleep, another 25 times. For the first 2 weeks, nothing changed in his outer circumstances. No clients appeared. No money showed up. His situation looked exactly the same, but something was shifting in Robert's consciousness. The constant repetition of "I am supplied" was dissolving his anxiety. He noticed he stopped obsessively checking his bank account. He stopped panicking about the future. A deep peace began settling in his spirit. On day 17, Robert received a phone call from a man he had met briefly at a party 3 years earlier. This man was now heading a large development project and needed an architect immediately. His first choice had fallen through. He remembered Robert and called him. The contract was worth more than Robert had earned in the previous 3 years combined. But here is what makes this story even more remarkable. The phone call came at the exact moment Robert was speaking his morning declaration of "I am supplied." He answered the phone while the words were still on his lips. Florence Scovel Shinn would say this was not coincidence. This was divine orchestration responding to aligned consciousness. Robert's consistent declaration of "I am supplied" had shifted his consciousness from lack to abundance, and the universe brought him the exact opportunity that matched his new consciousness. The scientific explanation for why these 3 words work is fascinating. Neuroscientists have discovered that the brain cannot distinguish between a powerfully imagined experience and a real one. When you repeatedly declare "I am supplied," your brain begins accepting this as reality. It starts filtering information differently. It notices opportunities you would have missed before. It makes connections it would not have made in a consciousness of lack. Psychologists call this reticular activation. Your brain has a filter that determines what information gets through to your conscious awareness. When you are in lack consciousness, your filter only shows you evidence of lack. You see prices you cannot afford. You notice people who have more than you. You focus on bills and debt. But when you shift to supply consciousness through the declaration "I'm supplied," your filter changes. You start noticing opportunities. You become aware of resources you overlooked. You attract people and situations that support your prosperity. But Florence Scovel Shinn taught something even deeper than psychology or neuroscience. She taught that words are creative spiritual force. In The Power of the Spoken Word, she wrote, "The spoken word is man's greatest power. Through his spoken word, man is continually making laws for himself. By his words, he is condemned or justified." Your words are not just describing reality or programming your subconscious or changing your filter. Your words are literally creating reality in the spiritual realm. When you declare "I am supplied," you are not hoping or wishing or trying to convince yourself. You are speaking something into existence. You are issuing a divine decree. You are commanding money to flow to you through the power of the spoken word. This is why Florence was so insistent that you must speak these words out loud. Silent thoughts have power, but spoken words have exponentially more power because they move into the physical realm through sound vibration. There is a third case I want to share because it demonstrates what happens when you combine the three words with what Florence called non-resistance. In 1929, a woman named Dorothy was struggling with overwhelming debt. She had accumulated nearly $6,000 in debt, which in 1929 was an enormous sum. She was making minimum payments but getting nowhere. The interest kept piling up. She felt trapped. When she learned about the three words "I am supplied" from one of Florence's students, she began declaring them faithfully. But she added something Florence had taught about non-resistance. She stopped fighting against her debt. She stopped resenting it. She stopped panicking about it. Instead, every time she thought about her debt, she would calmly say, "I am supplied," and she would bless the debt and release it spiritually. This sounds counterintuitive. How can you bless debt? But Florence taught that what you resist persists. Fighting against debt keeps you energetically bound to it. Releasing it through blessing and non-resistance allows divine supply to dissolve it. Within 6 months, Dorothy's debt was completely gone. Not through her payments, which were too small to make a real dent, through a series of unexpected sources. First, her employer gave her a surprise bonus for work she had done 2 years earlier that they had failed to properly compensate. Then she received a tax refund she was not expecting because an accountant had made an error in her favor. Then a small investment she had forgotten about matured and paid out. Then a friend repaid a loan Dorothy had completely written off years ago. Each amount by itself was modest, but they came rapid fire one after another, and when Dorothy added them up, they totaled exactly $6,037, just enough to pay every penny of debt with a little left over. She later told Florence's student that the moment she stopped resisting the debt and started declaring "I am supplied," she felt a shift in her spirit. The anxiety dissolved, and the money showed up almost immediately after that shift occurred. This brings us to the practical application. How do you use these three words in your own life? First, you must make a commitment. Not a half-hearted attempt, a full commitment. Decide right now that for the next 30 days, you will declare "I am supplied" out loud at least twice per day, morning and night at minimum. Write it on a card and put it where you will see it. Set a reminder on your phone. Do whatever you need to do to make this non-negotiable. Second, you must declare it with faith, not hope. Faith is present tense certainty. Hope is future tense possibility. When you say "I am supplied," you are not hoping it will become true. You are declaring it is true now in the spiritual realm and commanding it to manifest in the physical realm. Third, you must remain in non-resistance. This means when bills come, you do not panic. When you see prices you cannot currently afford, you do not spiral into lack consciousness. You simply return to your declaration, "I am supplied." You bless every financial challenge and release it spiritually. Fourth, and this is crucial, you must stop speaking lack. The three words "I am supplied" only work if you stop contradicting them with poverty declarations the rest of the day. Florence Scovel Shinn was very clear about this. You cannot declare "I am supplied" in the morning and then say "I am so broke" in the afternoon and expect results. Your words must be consistent. Every time you catch yourself about to say something that affirms lack, stop, correct yourself. Replace it with a statement of supply. Instead of "I cannot afford this," say "money flows to me easily." Instead of "I am broke," say "I am abundantly supplied." Instead of "bills are piling up," say "all my needs are met." This requires vigilance at first, but it becomes natural quickly, and the results are undeniable. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that when you align your words with spiritual truth, the universe must respond. This is law, not religion, not positive thinking, spiritual law. The law of divine supply is as reliable as the law of gravity. Gravity works whether you believe in it or not. And divine supply flows to consciousness that is aligned with it whether you understand how it works or not. Your job is not to figure out how money will come. Your job is to hold the consciousness of I am supplied and let the universe deliver in whatever way it chooses. Margaret did not know her inheritance was waiting for her. Robert did not know which client would call him. Dorothy did not know money would come from 5 different unexpected sources. They simply declared I am supplied and allowed divine intelligence to orchestrate the manifestation. I want to address something many people struggle with. They wonder if declaring I am supplied is a lie when their bank account says otherwise. This is where you must understand the difference between physical facts and spiritual truth. The physical fact might be that you currently have very little money, but the spiritual truth is that infinite supply exists and is available to you right now. When you declare I am supplied, you are not denying physical facts. You are affirming spiritual truth. And spiritual truth is more real and more powerful than physical facts. Physical circumstances are temporary and changeable. Spiritual truth is eternal and immutable. Florence Scovel Shinn wrote, "Do not let the present conditions disturb you. They are temporary. Your word has gone forth and will not return void. When you speak, I am supplied. You are calling forth spiritual substance from the invisible realm into the visible realm. It might take a day. It might take a week. It might take a month, but it must manifest because you have set spiritual law into motion through your word. There is one more element that multiplies the power of these 3 words exponentially: gratitude. Florence taught that gratitude is the most magnetic force in the universe. When you combine I am supplied with genuine gratitude, you accelerate manifestation dramatically. So here is what I recommend. After you declare I am supplied, add thank you God for my divine supply. Say it like this: I am supplied. Thank you God for my divine supply. I am supplied. Thank you God for my divine supply. Repeat this 10 times every morning and 10 times every night. The gratitude signals to the universe that you already have what you are claiming, and the universe responds to the signal you send. If you send a signal of lack through worry and complaining, you get more lack. If you send a signal of supply through declaration and gratitude, you get more supply. This is how spiritual law works. You get what you vibrate, and your words determine your vibration. Let me be very direct about something. These 3 words, I am supplied, are not magic. They are not a shortcut that bypasses spiritual law. They are an alignment tool that helps you work with spiritual law instead of against it. Florence Scovel Shinn never taught that you could sit on your couch, say some words, and expect money to fall from the sky without any action on your part. What she taught is that when you shift your consciousness from lack to supply, you naturally begin taking different actions. You notice opportunities. You make connections. You receive ideas. You are guided to be in the right place at the right time. Divine supply flows through natural channels. It came to Margaret through an inheritance. It came to Robert through a client. It came to Dorothy through multiple small sources. But in every case, the flow was activated by the shift in consciousness that resulted from declaring I am supplied. If you have made it this far, it is because your soul recognizes truth when it hears it. And I want you to know this is not accidental. Divine prosperity exists for people who are ready to align their consciousness with the spiritual laws that govern abundance. People who understand that prosperity is not just about working harder, it is about thinking and speaking differently. This is not just another finance channel teaching budgets and investments you can find anywhere. This is where we explore the metaphysical principles Florence Scovel Shinn taught that transform financial reality from the inside out. If you are ready to activate divine supply in your life, subscribe to Divine Prosperity and turn on notifications. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we release new teachings on spiritual laws of abundance, the power of the spoken word, and how to dissolve prosperity blocks. Not theory, practical application. Because what you believe creates what you receive, and what you speak manifests in your life. Next video, we are exploring Florence Scovel Shinn's teaching on why asking for money blocks it and commanding money manifests it. Your prosperity is divinely ordained. The choice to claim it through your words begins now.